Well, Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos is buying the Washington Post newspaper in his personal capacity. The publication will remain separate from the website. The $250 million surprise deal was announced yesterday. Now, joining me on the line from Washington, D.C. is the Post's Vice President at Large, Leonard Downie. Mr. Downie, evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us here on eNCA. For someone like yourself, Mr. Downie, who's been with the Washington Post since its heyday when it covered Watergate, did this come as a surprise?
Yes, it was a complete surprise. Don Graham, the CEO of the Washington Post company, with whom I've been associated now for many decades, called me yesterday afternoon in advance of the announcement to let me know it was going to take place. And I went to the newspaper and joined its employees for the announcement that was made yesterday afternoon, Washington time.
How's it being greeted within the organization?
Well, first with shock. The relationship of the Graham family to the newspaper and its employees is extremely close. A true family relationship, even though the Washington Post company has long been a public corporation, which in fact I think was one of the difficulties of managing the changes going on in the news industry. The fact that it was a public corporation had to report to its shareholders regularly. Nevertheless, the Graham family's personal relationship with the newsroom is extremely close. Don knows the names and family histories of everybody that works with him in that building. And so for all of us who've been associated with the family for so long, it was quite a shock. At the same time, as we began to understand it and listen to Don and the publisher of the paper, Catherine Weymouth's niece, speak about it, and read a letter to us that had been written by Jeff Bezos himself about why he was buying the paper and his commitment to its values, I think many of us came to realize that having it in the hands of a private family company with very deep pockets and somebody who is such a successful innovator in the digital world, which is what has disrupted newspaper economics and newspaper audiences, that this may be the best outcome for the long-range future.
Now, the Washington Post has always prided itself on its investigative reporting and an in-depth analysis. Do you think there will be any dramatic changes going into the future?
I really don't expect that to be the case. Jeff Bezos has known Don Graham for a long time now. They've spoken very deeply about both of their businesses. Jeff Bezos' letter yesterday acknowledged and pledged himself to the values of the newspaper, talking about following the story wherever it leads, no matter what. I think he has a good understanding of what the Post's strengths are and mission is, and he's committed to it, it sounds like.
To what do you attribute the continued decline in readership at the Post? As someone who has been at an editorial post for so long, do you take any responsibility perhaps in not having caught on to the digital race?
Well, in fact, our readership is much larger than it's ever been, as it is for many news organizations on the internet. Our audience is much larger, and of course it's now international and national as a result of the internet. The problem is the financial support for that audience. That is to say, the income from internet publication, both advertising and circulation, that growth so far is far less than the decline in the print advertising income that's been the mainstay of all American newspapers throughout the country. That disruption has gone on everywhere, and we've anticipated a lot of change fairly early at the Post. We were early on the web. We've done a lot of innovating on the internet, but at the same time, it is a very difficult to figure out exactly how to meet this challenge. And I think that Jeff Bezos' background in being an innovator on the internet and risking lots of money and reputation over the years to do very innovative things in the internet may be just what we need to figure out the answer to this. Nobody's figured out the answer yet.
They will have to leave it. Thank you so much for your time. That was Washington Post Vice President at Large, Leonard Downie, joining us from D.C.
News that moves. eNCA.com.